His story presents grim papal deaths. Pope Clement I, also known as Saint Clement of Rome, is listed by Irenaeus and Tertullian as Bishop of Rome, holding office from 88 to his death in 99. A year or two before his own death in 869, Saint Cyril brought to Rome what he believed to be the relics of Saint Clement, bones he found in the Crimea buried with an anchor on dry land. Pope Sixtus II was the Pope or Bishop of Rome from 31st of August 257 until his death on 6th of August 258. He was martyred along with 7 deacons, including Lawrence of Rome during the persecution of the Catholic Church by Emperor Valerian. Pope John VIII was Pope from 14th of December 872 to his death in 882. He is often considered one of the ablest pontiffs of the 9th century. John VIII was killed by one of his own clerics, perhaps even by a relative, who poisoned his drink and, growing impatient at the slow pace of the Pope's demise, bashed him in the head with a hammer to finish the bloody job. Pope Stephen VI was Pope from 22nd of May 896 to his death in 897. He had been made Bishop of Anagni by Pope Formosus, possibly against his will. It was at the behest of the crazy faction that Stephen had Formosus, who had been dead for 7 months by this point, exhumed and charged with heresy, known as the Cadaver Synod. Within a few months of the Cadaver Synod, Stephen was deposed and tossed in jail. His successor, Romanus, reversed all of Stephen's decrees, restored Formosus to his, formerly, rightful place, and celebrated his success by having Stephen strangled. Pope Leo V was Pope from July 903 to his death in 904. He was Pope during the period known as the Saeculum Obscurum. He was thrown into prison in September 903 by the anti-Pope Christopher, and was probably killed at the start of the pontificate of Pope Sergius III. Pope John X was Pope from March 914 to his death in 928. A candidate of the Counts of Tusculum, he attempted to unify Italy under the leadership of Berengar of Friuli. He eventually fell out with Morosa, who had him deposed, imprisoned, and finally murdered, being suffocated by a pillow. John's pontificate occurred during the period known as the Saeculum Obscurum. Pope John XII was head of the Catholic Church from 16th of December 955 to his death in 964. He was related to the Counts of Tusculum and a member of the powerful Roman family of Theophylact which had dominated papal politics for over half a century. John XII died on 14th of May 964. According to Liutprand of Cremona, John died whilst enjoying an adulterous sexual encounter outside Rome, either as the result of apoplexy, or at the hands of an outraged husband. Pope Benedict XVI was Pope from 19th of January 973 to his death in 974. His brief pontificate occurred in the political context of the establishment of the Holy Roman Empire. At the anti-Pope Boniface's direction, a priest strangled Benedict XVI to death in June 974. Pope John XIV was Pope from December 983 to his death in 984. He was the successor to Pope Benedict VII. Anti-Pope Boniface VII placed John XIV in prison in the Castel Sant'Angelo, where he died either from starvation or poison. Pope Clement II was Pope from December 25, 1046 until his death in 1047. He was the first in a series of reform-minded popes from Germany. A toxicologic examination of his remains in the mid-20th century confirmed centuries-old rumors that the Pope had been poisoned with lead sugar. It is not clear, however, whether he was murdered or whether the lead sugar was used as medicine. His corpse is interred in the western choir of the Bamberg Cathedral. Pope Lucius II, born Guardo Caccianmissi dal Orso, was Pope from March 9, 1144 to his death in 1145. His pontificate was notable for the unrest in Rome associated with the Commune of Rome and its attempts to wrest control of the city from the papacy. Faced with an uprising of the Roman Senate, which declared a constitutional republic free from papal rule, Lucius II raised a small army and attacked the resistors on Capitoline Hill. During the battle, Lucius II was struck by a heavy stone, and the Bishop of Rome died soon after on February 15, 1145. Pope John XXI, born Peter Juliani, was pope from September 8, 1276 to his death in 1277. Apart from Damasus I, he has been the only Portuguese pope. To secure the necessary quiet for his medical studies, he had an apartment added to the papal palace at Viterbo, to which he could retire when he wished to work undisturbed. On May 14, 1277, while the pope was alone in this apartment, it collapsed. John was buried under the ruins and died on 20th of May in consequence of the serious injuries he had received. He was buried in the Duomo di Viterbo, where his tomb can still be seen.